Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the purpose of this ministerial statement comes in twofold. The first one is my maiden speech, which merely expresses acknowledgement from me as the newly appointed minister responsible for police and correctional services. The second part is my ministerial brief to the Honorable House of matters relating to the recent occurrences or happenings in the autonomous region of Bougainville that have directly and or indirectly involved the Ministry and Department of Police and Correctional Services. Mr. Speaker, I am greatly honored to be standing here as a member of the Bougainville Executive Council. Mr. Speaker, I was officially appointed by His Excellency Honorable Ismail Toroma, President of the Autonomous Region of Bougainville, and sworn in as Minister for Police and Correctional Services on the 16th of August 2022. My appointment as Minister for Police and Correctional Services has occurred as a result of the resignation of former Minister Honorable Emmanuel Carlos Caitavara from the Ministry. Mr. Speaker, at this juncture, I wish to acknowledge and thank His Excellency Honorable Ismail Toroma, President of the Autonomous Region of Bougainville, for having trust and confidence in me and for me to provide the political leadership and restore the already aligning police and correctional services in Bougainville at the same time. I would like to commend and thank my predecessor, Honorable Emmanuel Carlos Caitavara, member for Baba constituency. Honorable Carlos Caitavara, you have done well in your short time with the two discipline services, the police and correctional services. Mr. Speaker, I would also put it on record that I am now the third minister to be appointed as Minister for Police and Correctional Service in a short span of two years since 2020. I pray and hope that there won't be any more changes done to these very important ministerial portfolios. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to thank members of the North Bougainville Regional Parliamentary Committees for the support during my time as chairman of the Northern Bloc. Mr. Speaker, I also congratulate my successor, Honorable Paul Chung, member for Sela constituency, for his appointment as new chairman of the North Bougainville Regional Parliamentary Committee. I urge each and every member of North Bougainville Regional Parliamentary Committee to give their undivided support to their new chairman. Mr. Speaker, let me go to my next part of my ministerial statement, and that is to brief the Honorable House on matters concerned to the police and correctional services respectively. Quite a number of good and critical things happened during my 2 months in the Office of Ministry of Police and Correctional Service. This includes the Tonole logging project saga, police law and order issues, the common agenda of peace and security aspect extracted from the recent Bougainville investment and trade conference in Arawa, lack of budget support, and some recommendations. Mr. Speaker, the Tonole project is now a sensitive issue and need for the autonomous Bougainville government and national government, local authorities, the landowners, Kono and Tonu Mekomu factions, and the developer to immediately address true establishment dialogue, mediation, and consultative process utilizing and upholding the spirit of the Bougainville Peace Agreement, which is solving issues through peace by peaceful means. Mr. Speaker, let me give you a snapshot of what transpired on the early hours of Wednesday, 28 September 2022. Between 6 to 7 a.m., a brutal attack was conducted by Mekami 1 faction to employees of KK Connections logging company at the Tonole logging campsite. 2 local employees killed, 1 Malaysian killed, 1 PNG East New Britain originally killed, 2 other locals killed from outside the Tonole campsite. Others, including both locals and foreigners, received serious injuries. Injured victims were taken to Buin Hospital for treatment. Police based in Buin town could not go to the location as it was very risky, and besides they had no arms to protect them. High-powered rifles were used by Mekamui 1 and Mekamui 2 factions. Police and established communication links network with sources on the ground. Mr. Speaker, my Assistant Commissioner of Police has been constantly communicating with our police officers in Buin to get an update. It is important to note that lives have been lost, many people have been wounded, and equipment and machineries have been destroyed. These are serious matters that to be considered in the process of dialoguing and finding amicable solutions. Mr. Speaker, I am so much troubled by certain individuals and groups of factions using high-powered rifles in such incidents. The use of illegal weapons is a major concern for us in Bougainville and a clear breach of the Bougainville Peace Agreement, thus sending negative signals to our international supporters and to our national government. I am aware of some concerned or responsible persons or groups trying to assist the AVG in restoring peace and normalcy to the affected areas of Kono constituency. Mr. Speaker, there was a meeting held and attended by the Central and South Regional Directors, District Coordinators of Central and Southern Regions, two Community Government Managers of South and representatives from the program managed unit under the office of the Deputy Chief Secretary. The meeting was facilitated and co-chaired by the Deputy Chief Secretary, Michael Otora, and the Acting Secretary for the Department of Community Government, Puara Kamareke. I do not know why none from the Police Ministry or Department was invited to this meeting. It is critically important that I, as the Minister or my Commissioner, is invited to participate and give our views on what sort of process to follow in order to reach a peaceful solution to the incident. Mr. Speaker, the main objective of this meeting was to find a way forward to address the Tonole logging incident that has caused deaths and injuries to workers of the logging site. The incident was affected most of government services like schools, health services, mostly in Kono and Tonole County government areas, and was extended into Wisai County government area. Public servants and the general population are living in fear, and there is so much insecurity in the areas of at this time. Mr. Speaker, I am also pleased to inform this Honorable House that the Bougainville Executive Council also met twice to deal with the Tonole logging project incident. The Bougainville Executive Council has resolved for a need to establish a parliamentary committee to inquire into the Tonole saga. I believe the President will deliberate more on this establishment of the committee with its set of terms of preferences. Mr. Speaker, I have also received a letter from Member for Kono, Honorable Willie Masu. The content of the letter called on police services to act decisively and protect properties of KKCL, which are stranded at Tonole after the shootout and killing of a company worker and local employees. In response to the letter, I stated that police, as usual, will continue to monitor the situation and provide the much-needed security, monitoring and surveillance to civilians and KKCL machineries and equipment that are stranded within the vicinity of Tonole in the Kono constituency. Mr. Speaker, it is important to note that while our police are monitoring the hostile and tense situation with very limited resources, there is a serious need for the government, whether ABG or national government, to provide funds needed to purchase essential stuff such as communication, vehicles, fuels, uniforms, boots, office stationaries and equipment, etc., to enable work to be effective and efficient. Therefore, the result of the work performed by police will not be at the level of standard required because of lack of these essential resources. Despite of this lack of resources, our policemen and women continue to perform their duties. Mr. Speaker, I have to be frank here and inform this Honorable House that police personnel are not armed with weapons to enable them to intervene as part of their call-out to provide safety and security to citizens and those that do business here in Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, given the current circumstances in the Bougainville Police Service, at the current situation at Tonolei logging site, I as Minister wish to call on the autonomous Bougainville government to immediately assist in the following key areas. Consider without reservation funding requirements of the Bougainville Police Service, capacity building through recruitment, logistical support, monitor vehicles, motor vehicles, boats, fuel, communication, etc. Rearm the Bougainville Police Services, build more police stations and police housing throughout Bougainville, build border posts in North, Central, and South Bougainville. The above recommendations are captured in the Bougainville Police Service 5-year Strategic Development Plan 2023 to 2027. Mr. Speaker, the recent 2 days Bougainville Investment Trade and Conference held in Arawa was an eye-opener and successful event hosted and organized by the Ministry of Department of Commerce, Trade and Economic Development. The aim of the conference was to promote sustainable and inclusive economic growth and opportunities to improve the welfare of Bougainvilleans. Mr. Speaker, it was evidently echoed in most of the presentations by different stakeholders, including development partners in the country and overseas, that before business activity is conducted in Bougainville, it is important to make sure peace and law and order must prevail in the community to allow for business activities to be conducted in a friendly and conducive environment. Emo sema imiga to this law, bana special economic zone ya, o kada something security must all right biyan imigo waka, one kind to lo this law, biyan lo develop ay kam, biyan lo investasi kam la. A classical example and experience in Bougainville is the Tonolei logging project. Therefore, peace and security aspect in the community must be secured before any major economic development activity is going to take place to avoid such incidents as that of Tonolei logging project incident. I call on relevant government departments that are dealing with the investors or developers to fully comply with the Bougainville Inward-Outward Investment Act 2014. Mr. Speaker, I made 2 times visit to BHOR jail. The first one was conducted according to my plan activity on 9 September 2022, and the second trip was when I accompanied Honorable Peter Chamali, Jr., Minister for Internal Security in the national government of Papua New Guinea. Mr. Speaker, the purpose of this visit to BHOR was to find out for ourselves the seek first-hand information about the status of BHOR jail operations, capture and take note of outstanding issues, whether management or administrative issues, or lack of political support to the institution, so that we can possibly consider strategies to resolve outstanding management and administration issues, as well as improve the services required by the important law and justice sector to function effectively and efficiently in Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, another important factor is to identify the gaps and strategies for the correctional services by way of introducing and developing relevant policy frameworks in line with ABG President's 6-point strategies, in particular, improve law and order strategy, as well as we all march towards Bougainville's independence no earlier than 2025 and no later than 2027. Mr. Speaker, the Beirut Correctional Services has a total of 49 staff. Trained most are locals of Beirut surrounding villages recruited as part of initial arrangement of benefits and ownership of locals in the establishment of correctional institution. The senior commanding officer are experienced national government correctional services who have deployed as part of the commitment in support from the national government to functionalize the new establishment Beirut Correctional Services. The head of the Beirut Correctional Services Commission, Assistant Commissioner Mr. Vincent Kundi, is also an experienced and qualified officer who provides management leadership to the ranks and files to ensure Beirut Correctional Services operational. Mr. Speaker, at the time of visit to Beirut, a record of 73 prisoners were physically present at the institution, 69 male prisoners and 4 female prisoners. The correctional services also take care of female prisoner who has a 3-month-old baby. Mr. Speaker, the institution currently has a toilet and ablution block that is not usable due to no water storage facility and poor sewage systems. The prisoners are currently using the nearby bush and pit or dugout toilets that are located outside of the cell block fence. This is not safe and a high risk, especially during the night. Remember, the institution accommodates for both low and high risk prisoners. Mr. Speaker, the current available accommodation block can provide for 60 people only. Currently, there are 73 prisoners, and the figure exceeds the required number, resulting in overcrowding in the accommodation blocks. There is also an incomplete building marked for vocational training courses that is being used as accommodation to the prisoners. All accommodation facilities are run down and need complete renovation and maintenance. Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity to meet with 3 landowners representatives of the land which is being occupied by Beirut Correctional Service. They are Mr. Hubert Pice, Henry Boshin, and Mrs. Dorothy Bucky. They openly apologized to the minister for not following protocols to meet with the minister. The so-called landowners assure the minister on the following areas. One is reaffirm the landowners' commitment in working together with the management and administration of correctional services and the ABG in developing Beirut to an exceptional standard in areas of infrastructure and manpower resources. Express the need for ABG to assist in terms of funds. ABG has not been supportive since establishment of Beirut CS. I say the minister, there is no land issue at Beirut. What transpired to be land issue was actually issues between local contractors and the government of a process of awarding contracts to do work in the institution. Express a need to review lease agreement every 5 years. The review has not happened since establishment of Beirut CS. Affirm the support to the ABG Minister for Police and Correctional Service and Minister for Internal Security of National Government on any development to take place in Beirut CS. Urge a special meeting to be held between government authorities and landowners to encourage good working relationship for the betterment of Beirut Correctional Services. Mr. Speaker, my recommendation is pay my visit to Beirut Jail as follows. 1, the situation at Beirut Correctional Service in terms of accommodation and toilet facility are below standards and require immediate attention from the relevant authority, both national government, autonomous Bougainville government, any funding allocation for infrastructure project for Bekut Correctional Service must be processed immediately so that work can commence forthwith. It is critical for the ABG Minister to meet with the National Minister for Internal Security to discuss common agendas for the benefit of the two governments' respective ministries and portfolios, and to strengthen and enhance the relationship between both governments. There shall be a review conducted on the land lease arrangement by landowners and government authorities. Initial arrangement was to review the arrangements in every 5 years. This has not happened. The Bougainville Correctional Service shall design a uniform with its approved colors and logo to depict unique quenches as the sovereignty of state of Bougainville. The ministry shall secure an office space in a convenient location. Currently, the office that looks after two separate government portfolio functions is located in the vicinity of Buka Police Station. The AVG and national government shall consider purchasing new fleet of vehicles for the correctional service in replace the already run-down and non-operational fleet of vehicles. Law and order is everyone's business and a serious subject matter that is emphasized in the President's 6-point strategy and requires 100% commitment from all key stakeholders, and therefore both national government and ABGs should allocate sufficient budget beginning this year 2022 up until 2027. The ministry shall begin engaging with relevant stakeholders, including Law and Justice Ministerial portfolio, on the possible re-establishment of Kuberia Jail. Funds shall be made available to successfully conduct and implement the minister's approved visitation familiarization program. Mr. Speaker, under my leadership, I will perform to the best to uphold the policies and decisions made by the Cabinet and ABG for the best interest of people of Bougainville. My leadership will encourage every police and correctional service man and woman to uphold the basics as they perform their constitutional duties. Mr. Speaker, I have already launched my ministerial familiarization visit to all key leaders, such as our Honorable President, Vice President, the Commissioners of both Police and Correctional Service, senior police constables of Buka Police Station, development partners such as New Zealand Police. I will continue with this program in order to reach out to all police stations and posts in the 3 regions in North, Central, and South Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, the Bougainville Police Service currently has a strength of just over 200 police personnel. We need to increase this number through our recruitment program. The current strength is far below the United Nations required ratio, which is 1 police person is to 450 people. We are anticipating by 2023, BPS would have strengthened of 1,000 police personnel. Mr. Speaker, I also want to explore this area to give our policemen and women opportunity to take up repressor pathway and improve in their work as good prosecutors, good investigators. In cases they handle, there are diploma and degree courses offered at Bomana Police Training College, and this program can be implemented through Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, signed between Pacific Institute of Leadership and Government and Royal PNG Constabulary. Mr. Speaker, similar initiative can be brought up with our friends from the New Zealand Police who are already here on the ground and our development partners, assisting on professional development for our Bougainville Police Service. Mr. Speaker, one of the major factors in the poor performance by police officers is the lack of accommodation. or housing for Bougainville Police Service police officers committed to work every day. It is not right and very degrading for a uniformed police officer to travel on a PMB each day to the police station. My leadership will ensure housing project for police service is rolled out without delay. Ocean I like him money mas supplementary or I lilik now or before ya ends na. You start more. Mr. Speaker, the BPS needs to stock up every police stations with uniforms, boots. On record, BPS currently have nil in stock of uniforms and boots. Because of the insufficient uniforms and boots in stock, I have liaising with my counterpart Minister for Internal Security, Honorable Peter Chamberlain Jr., to assist by purchasing both police and correctional service uniforms and boots. This arrangement is very positive, and I wish to thank Minister Chamberlain for his assistance. Mr. Speaker, logistical support and transport are an essential services to boost and complement the work of police in the entire police operations. Command structure on record. There are 40 vehicles that are sitting idle in various police stations that need fixing. Unfortunately, lack of funding is the main reason for certain vehicle parts cannot be purchased so that the vehicles are fixed and be able to support the work of police in all regions. We hope to deal with the issue of fixing and maintaining these vehicles. Mr. Speaker, BPS needs new fleet of vehicles to support its work and for work to be effective and efficient. Mr. Speaker, border security is another important area we as government needs to consider in our planning and budgeting. As Minister, I am compelled to ensure we secure our borders from South Central and North Bougainville. BPS needs to improve its partnership arrangement with the Border Security Authority, Customs and Immigration. By stepping up our border monitoring and surveillance, we will definitely crack down on smuggling of illegal weapons and other illegal items into Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, I am optimistic and trust that change will happen. Change is inevitable for the common good in the two ministerial portfolios under my leadership. All this will eventuate and positive result will happen as a result of collective and cooperative effort from all key stakeholders, including my ministry, both departments of police and correctional services, collaborating with the Ministry and Department of Law and Justice and all citizens of Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, I am also prepared to work closely with all 33 constituency members, all community government chairpersons and ward members. I cannot forget other important stakeholders such as former combatants, women, churches, youth organizations, council of elders, chiefs, citizens who are 18 years and above to strengthen and uphold law and order in the autonomous region of Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, I wish to remind the Honorable House that I am the 10th Minister of the Ministry of Police and Correctional Services since Toraman Israel government took office in 2020. Constant changes in the political level for these two ministry portfolios is an indication of fundamental issues, whether at the political or administrative level, that must be addressed immediately for the common good of these two important government institutions, the autonomous Bougainville government and the people of Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, I remind myself that in the political sphere, my utmost responsibility is to ensure there is prudent political leadership, support and directives in order to improve the performance of every officer, address administrative and welfare issues, and importantly, reduction in law and order issues in Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, I am constantly collaborating with our National Minister for Internal Security, Honorable Peter Chamali Jr., for the purpose to securing funds to support police and correctional service throughout Bougainville. At this juncture, I also acknowledge and uphold the directive issued by Minister Chamali on the 20th September 22 to our police and correctional services officers throughout the country, including Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, to complement the National Minister's directive, I have also issued instructions to the Bougainville Chief of Police Commissioner Francis Tokura, Assistant Commissioner Vincent Kundi, and all law enforcement personnel to work extra harder and perform according to the disciplinary process code of conduct. My instruction to the two commissioners are as follows: that every Monday at 8 a.m. all stations must have a parade. Senior officers must check to ensure that boots and uniforms are in order and that officers present in a clean and presentable manner. Those that have constantly been subjected to disciplinary action should be subject to termination. Those that have a clean record should, and where it is operational, feasibly to do so, and be offered a reduction package. Absenteeism and lateness has no room in the police and correctional services. They are signs of an unproductive and unprofessional workforce. We need a disciplined workforce. Zero tolerance and corruption. Corruption comes in different forms and means. Therefore, police and correctional services and personnel must not involve in any way. Officers must not comprise their actions. Time mino member ito na, may bin member now. Misa look him straight. So may give more warning pinisa. No kan sim sila 20 kinalong, release him all hot ko gan Igor side. Naka? So time isa na blo tupla leg blo mesem ni bla minisa. Kami to kimol kita member tu lo one time niya. So this la tu all police blong arawai bring him ah. Hey, mi play kalabusimuan bla at ko long bekut na naim ran lo street of Arawa. Hopefully they will maximum come back na ko stop gen long hap. Drinking and driving must be terminable offense. Those caught chewing betel nut must be given a written warning. After 3 warnings, termination and proceedings must commence. Increase foot patrols in Bukarawa and Boon towns immediately. Police officers must be always visible. Execute decisions made by courts on criminal offenses without delay. People who are convicts are still roaming freely in the community. Let's uphold our justice system. Mr. Speaker, we cannot condone officers who act as if they are above the law. It is our collective, collaborative effort and commitment to restore discipline and confidence within the police and correctional services. Before me finishing statement, long plus statement, me trauma talk again, long you honorable members of the House, ministers, before law, on blind investor come inside, long area blow you, to blah mas talk, talk him law and order, me confident by me to blah, got supplementary budget belong police I think mi galasi mi ora click belong finish him ya one time. Mi na challenge him to much finance minister, but me accept him na mi move him surely go na from December. So I hope you give me all get me like him lo 2023. Na mi build him all house belong all police one Mary belong me. All got good black car. Now the pepom lo standard as long triple pillars blue mi tok long law and order, president 3 pillars, na 2 long 6-point strategy long president. Mr. Speaker, I want to re-emphasize that I am committed to provide the political leadership, thus reminding the Honorable House that Bougainville Police and Bougainville correctional services are serious about implementing and achieving the autonomous Bougainville government 6-point strategy that includes improved law and order and zero tolerance on corruption. The ABG operates legitimately under the Bougainville Peace Agreement supported by the Wabec Roadmap and the Era Corner Covenant to ensure Bougainville's political independence is achieved no later than 2025 and no later than 2027. No earlier than 2025 and no later than 2027. I am confident to provide my political leadership and guidance to ensure relevant policy framework is developed as part of our drawdown exercise and independence readiness. God bless us all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.